I'll be honest, Amazon FBA, private label, drop shipping, all those things, it sucks. It really does. And for me at least, so I just want to tell my side of the story as to why I quit doing Amazon FBA. So a couple years ago, I put out a video on how I lost $15,000 with Amazon FBA. Then I also shared how I replaced my 8 to 5 income doing Amazon, working with my wife, and basically selling these little car seat cover things. I got a lot of interesting comments, then ghosted this channel and went away for a really long time. And ever since then, my life has taken a drastic turn, and now here we are. So at first I had the intention of doing like a how I made it big with Amazon afterwards, after losing 15K, or doing some kind of follow-up or something like that. But that just isn't the way that things turned out. I actually ended up moving into digital products with my wife, Haley. I'll throw up a picture of her channel or something here. And so I just want to talk about why that business model is a better fit for me. And hopefully it gives you an idea of what might be better for you, whether it's digital products or physical products. If you don't know who I am, or if you only watch me for my Amazon videos and you haven't watched a video in 2 years, how's it going? My name's Doug. So I'll try to do a quick recap. So a long time ago, like 2 years ago, I guess that's a long time, we used to do Amazon FBA, and I did this with my wife, Haley. She had a mommy following, so we created this type of product, which is like a baby car seat cover, which is something that like you put over the car seat on a baby's car seat, and then you can use it for like a bunch of other reasons or a bunch of other things. And actually it did really well. It was in line with my wife's audience, and people really liked it. They liked the multiple patterns that we had, and it was a ton of fun until it wasn't. Things started stacking up. Took too much time, stuff started happening around the world, and we just said, you know what, maybe this isn't something that we really want to be doing anymore. We need to do something that's less reliant on a physical product and us physically putting time into things, which I'll get to in a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong, people make a killing doing this. People make a ton of money doing drop shipping and private label and FBA and retail arbitrage, but it just wasn't for us, and so here are the reasons why it wasn't for us. So reason number one is that picking the perfect product is just really difficult. And really difficult is probably an understatement. Okay, there are so many criteria that go into picking the perfect product, because that's what you're selling. You have to pick the best product in order for people to want to be able to buy it so you can perform well on Amazon's algorithm. So for us, we picked a product that wasn't too expensive to manufacture, but could be sold for a decent price so we could have a decent margin. It also didn't cost a lot on shipping. There were a lot of manufacturers to choose from, and we had the ability to create our own print or our own design. But what we didn't expect was that manufacturers could just look at our design, see how well it's performing on Amazon, replicate it, dupe it, whatever, and then just basically undercut us on the price. Now, could we have gotten a patent? Maybe. I mean, I'm not too sure on patterns that way. Did we pick a product in a totally competitive niche where there's a lot of ability to be able to replicate an item? Yeah, we picked a product in a very competitive market where it's easy to replicate or copy a pattern. So while the product did sell well, it was actually really easy to cut us out because the product wasn't the perfect product. A perfect product would have been something that was harder to replicate, harder to copy, or had a patent on it, something that was extremely unique. And instead, what we tried to rely on was a unique pattern, which really wasn't enough. So the second reason why we moved away from Amazon FBA is because it is very time consuming. You have to pick the product, you have to get the sample, you have to get the sample shipped, you have to look it over, you have to get the design done, then you have to send the sample back, and then once you get them ready, you have to order a certain amount, then you have to get them inspected, then they have to be shipped overseas over an extremely long time, then you have to inspect everything again and then get it to Amazon, then Amazon has to list it, and there's just a lot of work and a lot of time that goes into setting that system up. And that's not even including getting it listed, then getting it ranked, and then getting it sold, and then doing the whole process all over again once you start selling out of inventory, if you're lucky enough to sell out of inventory. And yes, I understand that while it does take a lot of time, you can actually just put in that time, put in that effort, make it happen, set it up, and then get the system really automated. But that's just something that isn't really talked about when people talk about Amazon or physical products. They don't talk about all the setup. They talk about how passive it is and how great it is and how making sales while I'm on my yacht or whatever. But in reality, like, there's a ton of upfront work and effort that has to go into it to be able to make it passive. And yeah, that's how it goes kind of with anything that's worthwhile having or that's going to be passive, is you have to put a lot of work and effort up front. But in our case, we just didn't want to do that with physical products. It was too time consuming. And so yes, while there are ways, again, to be able to cut yourself out of that busy work, it can take a while to be able to get profitable, which brings me to my next point. The margins suck. And yes, this depends on your product. You're going to have different fees. You're going to have different shipping costs. You're going to have different manufacturing costs. But in reality, when you get into the game of physical products, unless you're doing something that is like very high ticket and expensive, like electronics or something that's very unique, you're going to be price competitive, or you're going to be competing in price, and your margins are going to get thinner and thinner. So some of the things that come into play when it comes to your margin are things like shipping to you, shipping to Amazon, the manufacturing costs, the inspection costs, import fees, advertising, Amazon costs. Then on top of that, you need to be able to do this at volume if you're going to take it seriously. So there's going to be a lot of upfront costs and a lot of capital required in order to hit these types of numbers. And then in order to sell, maybe you run a bunch of discounts or deals or give away things for free to try to boost up your sales ranking. And that's going to cut even more into your margins. So you really have to ask yourself, is the time and capital required to be able to make this product rank and make it profitable worth it? So my fourth point here is just something that we really didn't think about, which was supply chain. So basically a supply chain is like how the manufacturer gets the materials and the manufacturer makes it, and then it gets inspected, and then it gets sent to you over some shipping way, and then you inspect it, then you get it to Amazon. And then there's a couple of other things that come into that. But basically a supply chain is like how your product gets made and gets to the final consumer. Now, what we didn't expect and what we didn't foresee and what like no one could foresee was that, you know, things could happen like a big boat blocking a small river. And that is still affecting shipments to this day, and things don't seem to be slowing down. And plus there's this other thing out there on social media that you can't talk about because you'll get flagged. But that thing is also slowing down shipping times. So while these things don't happen all the time, if your products get delayed, if the manufacturing gets delayed, if there aren't enough materials to be able to make your products, or if something happens and everything gets lost and you've paid for it and it's just lost out in the middle of the ocean somewhere, it can have a huge impact on your business. So when I took a step back and looked at physical products, there were just too many outside factors that could have a negative impact on our business. Things like supply chain, things like cost, manufacturing costs, things like that. There was just too many things that could basically tank our business that were out of our control. And so that's how we felt, and we just really felt like we needed to be able to shift gears and get into something different, something that was uniquely and entirely ours, something that couldn't be easily replicated, something that wasn't as time consuming or required as much physical labor, something with better margins, something that wasn't affected by the supply chain, and something that wasn't as affected by outside factors. And so what we landed on were digital products. Basically what led us to online courses and digital products was that we actually took a course on how to do Amazon FBA. We actually took 2 courses on that. And so we asked ourselves, well, why don't we just try to create some type of course ourselves, which is what started YouTubepreneur. And when we launched YouTubepreneur, that kickstarted everything to where we are today. And then, as cliche as it is, the rest is history. I guess things are still happening, so I guess it's going to be history. So hopefully this little story time kind of helps you just see the difference between physical products and digital products and really what's out there and what you could really want to do. Am I totally right on everything? Probably not. But do I care? No, I don't really care either. Really, this is just, again, my opinion on how everything worked, and I hope that I just kind of shed some light on some things for you guys. Again, there is no right way to do this. This is just our story, our experience, our path, and the way that we are doing things. So if this is something that you enjoyed or something that you felt helped you, well then feel free to comment, like, subscribe, or do all those other things. And if you didn't, then you don't need to. It's not that big of a deal. Again, we're just trying to share a story and put out there the truth behind what our experience was like. But if you are interested in learning how to do online courses or start your own online digital products business, that's exactly what we do now. So you can click a button in the description or something somewhere around here below, or you can also DM me, Doug Does Digital on Instagram, and we can talk about how we might be able to help you out do that. So that's it for this time, and I'll see you guys next time.